So just recently I dropped a video talking about the decline of BDO, and I saw a bunch of people in the comments saying this, and I got DMs about it. They're like, Throne and Liberty waiting room. I'm like, bro, you want to call this the waiting room, or you want to say Throne and Liberty's gonna be hype and yada yada yada. Listen, I know Throne and Liberty. Let me actually tell you about it. I played in KR, I played the open beta, and I got a decent handle about the situation. So we're gonna talk about Throne and Liberty. Is it gonna be hype or is it gonna flop? In this video, I'm going to talk about my thoughts on obviously the elephant in the room is going to be pay to win. People are always saying pay to win trash, but they did make changes, okay? Against all odds, I expected them to do jack shit, but they made changes for the global release. So, firstly, pay to win, then we're going to talk about the combat. That's something people rail on all the time, and even I do, but there's a bit more to it. It's not just how flashy the game's combat is. So then we're going to talk about the longevity potential of the game, from at least my perspective and my experiences. And I'm going to save the best for last. One of the things that I'm looking forward to the most. So the first thing is definitely the pay to win situation. Like, we hate pay to win. Who doesn't hate pay to win? You just want to come home for work. You work hard for your money and you just want to play a good game, hang out with the boys and enjoy some nice features of it, some visuals, some combat and stuff, and just have a good time. You don't want some fucker to kind of guilt you into it or coerce you into it with dark patterns into, swiping for a few $100 a month or $500, or just swipe $1,000 and you'll be done. You can enjoy the game. And you don't want none of that shit. Nobody does. Nobody likes that. I don't even think Korean players like it. That's all they've known. They don't know any better. But listen, pay to win is something that is there in every single MMORPG. RuneScape's pay to win. You can buy currency. You can buy the best gear. WoW's pay to win. You can buy the currency from big old Blizzard over there and buy some boosts and raid boosts and buy everything. Even Final Fantasy, you can buy boosts and stuff. Like, listen, any game, whether it's cheating or whether it's allowed, there is a certain degree of pay to win to it. Every MMORPG is. This is no different. But what's important is to what extent it's pay to win. Does it let a free-to-play player, who doesn't want to swipe like an obnoxious amount of money? Maybe you might swap like $20 a month or $10 or maybe a one-time purchase, whatever it is, even if you play purely free to play, it's important to understand to what extent is it going to gate you? Is it actually going to stop you at some point and say, hey, unless you pay me money, you're not going to progress? No, this isn't that kind of game like that. Surprisingly, but it's not. So, if you are a dedicated player, you're going to play like 4 hours a day. You're going to be active with your guild. You're going to show up to events. You're going to be there for the wars and the open world, world boss PvP and everything like castle sieges. Listen, that's the kind of player who's going to be exponentially more valuable to a guild and to a group of players than someone who swipes and gets some decent gear and is ahead of people in terms of gear. But as a player, he's not that much. I mean, skill is a factor, even though it is a relatively simplistic game. But as a free-to-play player, you can grind your ass off for like a month or two. I don't mean like spending 12 hours a day, 3 to 4 hours a day, or, even if you just play like an hour or two in some of the days, you can still progress and get to a point where you're at a competitive state in terms of gear. If you're lucky and you had some good RNG, or you're able to make money, you can sell items and get the currency that people are swiping for, right? Like, you can make your way up. Like, this isn't a game that's going to say, hey, unless you pay, you're not going to progress. But when we talk about those fools who like play 12 hours a day and they swipe, now those fuckers are lunatics. We're not going to talk about them. Yo, chill, leave some for the rest of us. You know what I mean? Guys, if we're gonna play that much, just why do you even need to swipe? Give us a shot, That's a small minority. You don't really have to worry about that. This isn't a game where an individual is gonna come out there, dive into a ball of players and just one tap everyone. It's not like BDO in terms of that. Like, in BDO, you can be, over geared by 50, 60 gear score and dive into an entire guild and just decimate them. This isn't like that. It's more Zerg oriented. It's more large scale numbers oriented and being coordinated with your larger ball and stuff. So it's not something that you're going to just utterly get rolled by a whale. You can get rolled by a bunch of whales who are working together, but not by one. So, hey, silver lining. But no, really, like, it's important to understand you're not going to be gated. There is opportunity to work hard and get to the same point or a similar point and still have fun. Now, I'll leave it at that, because at the end of the day, we need to see how it plays out. In Korea, you weren't seeing the best gear on the marketplace for a long time. Like, good luck getting those weapons from world bosses. Like, people, like, I'm telling you, this is a very guild-oriented game. Guilds are going to keep it within a guild. You're not going to be seeing all this items, all the best gear that drop just be freely sold. Like, you will see it, but it's not going to be as frequent. It's not something that you can just open up the auction house and just buy everything you want. No. It's not like that. But at the same time, they could, I was surprised that Amazon actually was able to negotiate some better terms in the pay to win department. But, you never know how they're going to change it in the future. What if they over monetize it? What if new monetization come out? That could hurt the game and kill it. Like, we are very sensitive to that. And it's something I keep track of. Now, one thing about the monetization is one of the cornerstone complaints is that the way they did the auction house, the currency you use to buy items off the auction house from other players is currency that you have to swipe for. But as a free-to-play player, you can sell items on the marketplace and earn that currency as well. Before in Korea, you had to buy a battle pass or something, and now you can use that currency, which you earn by selling items or getting it from events and games and whatever. You can use that currency to buy the battle pass, which before you had to swipe for. Also, there apparently used to be a subscription or something, which they did away with. Like, the amount of changes they did, I expected literally nothing. I was actually surprised that they were able to actually get away with stuff. Like, when Canon was in the NC Soft headquarters and he told the devs straight up, hey, people think your game's pay to win trash. Are you going to change anything? They pretty much, the gist of it was like, nah, we're going to keep it the same. But I'm surprised that Amazon Game Studios actually got something. Like, listen, if any Korean dev is like, hey, you unless you push these monetization, you're not going to be able to get new patches or anything. If anyone tries to bully Amazon, like, that is the one game publisher that you are not going to be able to bully. Like, Amazon, like, really? Like, you actually go to Amazon and you say that shit, you know what Amazon's going to be like? Amazon's going to be like, bitch, what? Hey, AWS, cook this fool. Like, there's no chance that they can bully Amazon, but I'm glad they actually got something. If it came out the same way Korea got the launch and it was the same monetization as Korea, we most certainly would have been screwed. But another thing that is important is the combat. The combat is one of the most important aspects of a game because you're spending all your time on your character, and what your character does and how it does it is important, and that is combat. The visuals, the feedback, like how responsive your skills are. Does it feel sluggish? Does it feel impactful? Is there good audio-visual feedback? Those are all things that are really important. Now, this is certainly no BDO. Now, BDO's combat is one of the best action combat game. This is a tab target game, which has an action combat targeting system, but it's not the same. It's still a tab target game. So when you first look at it, it's like, it looks very simple. It's very static. It's static in the beginning. It's static when you're not fully built out as your in terms of your character. And later on at the end game, it does get really mobile. You are running around fast and just nuking people, jumping people, running around and hiding and stuff. It's not just stand still and shoot skills. I played a build in the open beta, which required me to stand still because I got extra buffs by standing still. So it's not always like that. If you guys saw me playing and think, Pansy, this sucks, listen, I did it on purpose. I was being lazy, okay? But in terms of the combat, there is additional layers of complexity and to a certain extent. For example, it's not just you target a player or a mob and you're just hitting your skills and throw the off CC. There's also timing involved. Your cooldowns aren't very short. You have to use them sparingly. There are mechanics for blocking, like parrying and being able to time it. You have to, like, if you time your block on certain type of skills at the sweet spot, you get a counter skill. And it is important to be able to pull those off in PvP and PvE. So like there is that additional layer. And a game being somewhat simplistic is probably the best way to go when you have such large scale combat. Like when you have hundreds and hundreds of players fighting at a siege or at a world boss, it's gonna be laggy as fuck, dude. Like you do drop in frames, but the game runs well. It runs well enough that I was playing on max graphics, and then I was down to about 40 FPS and like a really stacked world boss PvP situation, but there were a bunch of players. If you turn your graphics down, you'll get better performance, but certainly it's a smooth running game. And when you have a game that's revolved, their pinnacle content is that high, large scale PvP. Yeah, they're not going to be as flashy as BDO. I'm sorry. It's just not going to work out. You got to give and take. There's something you have to give up. In BDO, what happens when I'm playing a Node War? Like, dude, I'm running on my Witch on the ground, not even on my Pegasus, which has 170 speed and Excel. I'm fucking on the ground running with the main ball. Main ball engages. I just teleport next to them and I end up in a fucking structure. Didn't even see it. Shit didn't load. And the number of times that happened, that alone makes me not want to go to Node Wars anymore because it's so annoying. Like, the game's been out how long, and they're still running into structures. Like, you're just running and suddenly the structure appears because it loaded slowly. So, you know, in Throne Liberty, the performance, yeah, the combat wise, it's not as good as BDO naturally. Like, its tap target game is pretty basic, but at the same time, there's reason for it to be so. And they did improve the game, like in terms of the combat. It actually got better after some recent Korean updates. So hopefully, when our game releases, we'll get that. But it's going to be a turnoff for people. Like, some people aren't going to like it. They're going to be like, hey, this sucks. But at the end of the day, this game isn't about just the combat. It's about the gameplay loop. So, you know, moving on to my next point is, like, one of the things I want to talk about is the longevity potential. And the gameplay loop is such an important aspect of longevity for a game. If you're doing the same shit over and over, you get bored, you're going to quit. BDO has the best combat in terms of an MMORPG, but it has us grinding for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours. Yeah, it doesn't matter how much you love the game. At some point, you get bored. Unless you have an additional motive, like as a content creator making money off it, yeah, you're probably going to get bored, or you just really love the game. So, I mean, there are always people who are really dedicated, but large majority of people will get bored at some point. So having that variety in terms of what you do. Yes, it's a simplistic game, but it looks beautiful. It runs well enough. And there's a variety in terms of the kind of content you engage in. It's not just, oh, going out and grinding. Sure, there's open world dungeons, there's bosses, there's guild bosses, there's open world PvP bosses, there's open world PvE events, and the same events can spawn in PvP mode. You're going to get into Discord 30 minutes early. You're going to prepare teams and go in prepared and stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that, you know, I've been missing in MMORPGs. I've been playing a lot of PvE games lately, and the gameplay loop is refreshing. I'll say that. It's not the best in terms of, you know, an MMORPG experience, because it's missing something I like, is like life skilling. There isn't any real life skilling in this game, right? So, you know, unfortunately, it is missing that. But you can go out and gather ore and stuff, which is important early on, but it doesn't have that huge progression and depth in terms of life skills, and that's okay. You know, I respect when a game picks and chooses its battles. They're not just trying to grab straws and just do everything. They're like, yeah, ain't no way we're going to make this work. We're not even going to try. I respect it as long as they do something right. So, you know, in terms of the longevity, if you like the gameplay loop, I think you will be able to play this, you know, for multiple months or even longer. It really comes down to the individual. Some people like things, some people don't. And if you really enjoy that open world content where open world events, competing against other players and then PvPing, you know, if you're just a pure PvE player, good luck. But if you're someone who enjoys like a variety of PvP and PvE, large scale and small scale, I think you'll find a lot that the game has going for it, even though there are some shortcomings with the kind of monetization they do, or if the combat's simplistic, but it's within reason for me. It could be different for you, but, you know, longevity wise, I see potential, but at the same time, there is something that could threaten that. And that is the next point. And one of the things that I'm looking forward to the most is going to be the drama, the PvP drama, man. Politics, the alliances, the backstabbing, flexing on fools with your kills, like your kill score and stuff, and just talking shit and beating other guilds and then railing on it. Like, listen, there's gonna be drama. There's gonna be a lot of words being exchanged, and we're gonna grab our popcorn. We're gonna enjoy it, even if it's just for the first month or two. I'm gonna enjoy it, and that's one of the things I'm looking forward to. Like, listen, if you're not talking shit while PvPing, you're not even PvPing. You might as well be PvEing, right? So in terms of like the head-to-head, like butting heads with like other guilds and stuff, you'll constantly run into other guilds because, hey, this isn't multiple channels and stuff. You're not going to be able to dodge people if you're going to go for like every event. You're going to be running into your rival guilds, like the PvP events, the PvP world bosses, the sieges. There's going to be drama. There's going to be PvP, and I like it. So it was important that I kind of rambled about all of these points, because these are things that are important for a player. People think about it and they're like, hey, is it going to be too pay to win, or the combat's not great? It does look beautiful, but as a game, but the combat isn't as engaging. I'm worried it's not going to be living up to it. Yeah, it's true. There's always going to be the people who are not going to like it. you might like it. It's a free-to-play game, so give it a try. But I am confident that at least for the first 1 to 2 months, it's going to be hype. And yes, it's not going to be like a fresh release where we're discovering stuff because people have min-maxed this game to hell. And yeah, I'm not a fan of that. But at the same time, you know, it's not hard to find the information now. There are websites with builds and recommended builds and guides and stuff. And already, that's something I hate about games nowadays. Like before it's even released, there's all these guides and shit. But it's the nature of the situation. But it's not like it's guarded content. It's going to be available for everybody. So, you know, if you're confused about, hey, what build do I do? Well, there's going to be a lot of guidance on it. So, you know, as much as I like it to be a fresh experience, it's not going to be. But at least for the first 1 to 2 months, I think people will find it refreshing compared to other games. Like, you know, if you've been stuck in the same loop, running the same hamster wheel for a long time, a change in scenery is going to be good for you. And the gameplay loop is something that I respect because there is enough variety for me to be engaged for at least the first couple months. In terms of the greater, you know, health of the game, yeah, listen, if this game has 100,000 players at the beginning, it's going to fall off within the first 2 months to like 20k players or something, 15k, even 10k. I don't care. The thing is, one of my biggest concerns of the game is like what comes after. Like I'm gonna enjoy the first 1 to 2 months, and then I'll move on to the next thing. I'll play whatever the hell I want to play. I want to play some game from like 15 years ago. I'll go play some nostalgic, trippy ass game. But my biggest concern about the game is that the way it's positioned, at least the systems within the game, it is possible for a guild to be so powerful that they kill off their server. And this is a game that gave mobility between servers. They did offer server transfers in like the open beta. I don't know to what extent they're going to make it available once the game's live. And it is a game that they released a fast track server in Korea or something like that. And a lot of people went back and had some great PvP fun there and stuff. So it is a game that has some replayability in terms of new servers. Not a fan of that kind of game, like, you know, New World constantly opening new servers, Arcade constantly opening new servers, rest in peace. But, you know, it is something that appeals to players. Like maybe someone doesn't want to grind for like a year to get, you know, stay on top of the game or something. They just want to play hard for a few months, burn out, and, you know, burn out in a blaze of glory and have make memories and have a good time. So it really depends on you. But as far as we've discussed, pay to win, I don't think it's going to be a factor which is going to kill the game. I think there is room to be a free-to-play player or a low spender and still have some fun. Combat, yes, it is simplistic, but there is a little bit of depth to it, but there's a reason for it. There's a lot of large-scale PvP content, which I fucking love, and you can't really go in with BDO kind of graphics and combat for that kind of gameplay. So the longevity, there is potential, there are risks. But the most important thing is you having fun and having a good fucking time, at least for the first 1 to 2 weeks, first 1 to 2 months. Be there for the launch, you know, ride the wave, have fun, make memories. That's what it's all about. It's a fucking video game. Don't treat it like a career, guys. Anyway, that's it for me about talking about my thoughts on if Throne of Liberty is going to flop or it's going to be hype. I think it has a shot. It's going to come down to the individual players and what they will accept in terms of their limits of being pushed in terms of the monetization and stuff. But I see, at least in the Western side, there is potential, at least for a moderate sized community. I don't think it's going to be a large community like World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy or anything, not even like Guild Wars 2 sides, but there is a small to medium sized community, which I feel like it can in the long term sustain and be a pretty good game to play once in a while. All right. Like, comment, and subscribe. Twitch.tv/I'mPansy. Let me know in the comment section if you're waiting for this game or if you think it's pay to win trash. Whatever it is, it's not about me telling you what to think or vice versa. It's mostly sharing our perspectives and understanding each other. I mean, I love talking about this shit. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Peace.